Hello everyone, Liam Severe here. Welcome to this updated video for the weather across the United States, Jamaica, and South Africa. Today's date is Saturday evening, August 1st, 2026. Before the video starts, I want to say thank you to everyone that tuned into my live coverage, my live weather stream last night, as we were able to accumulate 228 views. You can see a lot of you guys were watching this live when it happened, so I appreciate all the support. We are almost at 150 subscribers, so thank you guys for all of your support. Also, before the video starts, I want to say make sure you subscribe, make sure you like the video. If you don't know that's how the YouTube algorithm works. When you like the video and subscribe, the YouTube algorithm pushes the video out to more people that may be in the path of any of the storm systems that we talk about in this video or in these videos. And this could really save a life, so make sure you subscribe and also make sure you share. Also, drop a comment down below letting me know any of the questions that you have for me regarding the weather for your specific area, or any other questions you got for me. Also, feel free to use the timeline that will be down below or use the progress bar. And you can see, if I hover over it, you see the picture above. It shows you what parts of the video it's at. Use that to kind of guide yourself around the video and find some of the maps or some of the charts that you would like to see throughout the video. Feel free to skip to save some time. Also, do keep in mind, I am a WXRundown partner, so this video is going to be powered by WXRundown. Thank you guys so much for supporting my videos, supporting my live streams. You really are great people over there at the WXRundown team. Also, here's a few comments on our last video. You can see weather in St. Elizabeth at this moment by Leroy Wards 6147. I gave you all of the information. So let me know if, again, like I was saying down in the comments, if you have any questions about the weather for your area, just feel free to drop a question down below and I will answer. I will respond. Maybe not respond immediately, but as quick as I can. Okay, well, enough talk. Let's start the video. And of course, we have to start with the National Hurricane Center's 7-day graphical tropic weather outlook. This was actually updated at 7:51 p.m. EDT, so about an hour ago from now. And they still have nothing labeled as active activity for the next 7 days in the tropics. This includes nothing over here in the Atlantic, nothing in the Caribbean, and nothing in the Gulf at this time. We'll be keeping a close eye on this, though. Let's take a look at the surface map showing us the tropics right now, how this is all forming. You can see the usual ridge of high pressure off to the north. We know that's responsible for sending everything into the Caribbean. You can see the convergence zone, the tropical convergence zone indicated by the red line. It runs back through Africa. And you can see our tropical waves. You see we have 4 tropic waves currently. We have this one that is associated with some sort of low. As of right now, I don't know the extent of how bad that low is or how low it is. We'll take a closer look at it here in a moment, though. But we have 4 tropic waves, 2 of which are along the tropical convergence zone in the Atlantic, and we have another one in the Caribbean, and we have this one that is exiting the Caribbean. We also still have that trough coming off of the United States, so do keep that in mind. We have the high pressure ridge moving out of the Gulf as well. So, let's take a look at the satellite and see if we can see these tropic waves. So here is the satellite, and this is before we lost sunlight here to show if we can see these tropic waves. You can definitely see one is associated over here, and if we line that up to see if that is, can't tell. It's gonna be right around where this one over here is. If I line that up, it's gonna be just to this area. It's gonna be to the east of these islands over here, like Barbados, St. Lucia. You can see our another tropical wave back here, and it looks like we have a much bigger one that's going to be entering the tropics here soon. You can also see the one we have in the Caribbean right over the shore. It doesn't look like any convection going on in the Caribbean right now, but we're going to be watching. We also have this one that's exiting the Caribbean as well, and we're going to be watching all of these very carefully. Now, let us shift. We'll talk more about the Caribbean and the tropics later. Let us shift into the severe weather outlook, the severe weather side of things. What went wrong today in our viewing area? As you know, our viewing area is up here in North Kentucky and Southern Indiana. This is where we go live for streams to talk about this severe weather, to cover the severe weather. This is our coverage area, I guess you could say, and our forecasting area. So, what went wrong today? You can see this big line of storms off to the east. That is right there. And you can see that we did have these storms that went by. We had these storms that went by, but what went wrong? They weren't severe. Look, they have a bunch of lightning on them now. But when they were in our area, they weren't much severe. And I don't think I'll be able to go very far back. But when these storms did move through, we had 5 inches or more rain falling in Jefferson County and southern Oldham County. So, again, what went wrong here? What happened? How come we got this system that moved through? Supposed to have tornadoes, supposed to have severe thunderstorms, and we didn't get that here. Well, what happened is these storms from the morning in this low pressure area, when they went by, they took out some of our convection, but that's not the problem. The problem is when they took that convection, the sun didn't come back out. What we thought was going to happen is the sun was going to come out, the clouds were going to peel back, the sun was going to rain that hot summer air down on the ground, and that heat will hit the ground and rise back up into the atmosphere, causing a more unstable atmosphere. And this is exactly what these severe storms and these tornadoes want to form. This is how they form. They want that unstable atmospheric energy. And that did not end up happening. Our atmosphere was actually much more stable than we were forecasting, just because those extra clouds stuck around and it didn't have a chance to heat up the atmosphere once again. That is a very good thing of what could have happened. We did have that wind energy, so we could have had severe. However, when those clouds did go by, the storms rapidly did intensify. And we did have a few tornado warnings up there in Carrollton, which is one of our viewing areas. Up here for a little bit. I can't really give you a good look at what that was or looked at it. But ever since then, a few of these storms have produced tornado warnings. You can see that tornado warning has just expired to the north. But that was the warning from earlier, and there was a warning for Carrollton. As of right now, this is working its way out of the area, and the whole bust of the day, once again, was the cloud covering, which caused these storms to kind of rapidly weaken and just not have the intensity. I wouldn't say rapidly weaken. The better wording I would use is not intensify or not strengthen. One of those two is the better way to kind of word that, because they definitely could have intensified, right? But when they were in our area, when they were supposed to, it's when it didn't happen. And them putting that a little more west, that 2% tornado risk and that slight risk, I don't think was the right option. Just because when you see how they were forecasting in places like Oldham, Jefferson, and then this goes back up through Shelbyville, Bedford area, we were forecasting that when it gets to this point, this is when everything's taken off. This is when tornado chances are going to get much higher. This is when the storms are going to become tornadic, have those severe winds, everything that classifies as a severe thunderstorm. I think we're going to see severe thunderstorms pop off. That is not what happened here. Just because it was much more east. It was much more of an east way that we saw, much more east than just I-65. In fact, that was a little bit to the west of I-75 that you can see runs through here. And basically what happens is these storms just didn't have the fuel. They didn't have the atmosphere that we were thinking they were going to have to work with. And that's a really good thing. So we've been spared from that severe weather. And we did have that tornado warning, but as of right now, that rotation was not even in my book warranted of a tornado warning. But the National Weather Service, just to be safe, issued that. And it was the NWS in Cincinnati, I believe, that issued that tornado warning earlier. But as of right now, you can see a couple of showers in the area. I do want to take a look. And again, this is what we were talking about kind of. So we had a lot of that wind shear. And wind shear, think of it as energy for the storms. When you have a lot of wind shear, these are what thunderstorms want. specifically these thunderstorms that we're talking about, to form. The supercell thunderstorms that produce tornadoes that need that directional wind shear. And if I take a look, this is an image of how the wind shear would look like. They don't stack these storms right away. These storms rise in this kind of motion. You see how this looks, how they're all different, stacked the different ways. Notice the winds get higher up in the atmosphere. They get stronger. But do those winds change direction? And that's where you get the rotation. That's where you get the tornadoes. And this is a good graphic to show you that. Taking a look at the low in our area right now, you can see this is what the low is in our area. This is what is causing all of these storms to kind of fire off. Think about it as the L being right there. We'll show you a better look at this here in a moment. But it is bringing that storms and the rain to our area. So we're going to have a low pressure system moving through. Here's a better look at this. Here's the temperatures from the low pressure area first. So the temperatures have went down quite a bit just as this low is approaching the area. It will make its way directly over our area going into tonight and early tomorrow morning. Where tomorrow we could have some storm chances, some rain chances, but at the maximum some weak storm chances. Here's a look at what it looks like over our area. You can see the counterclockwise. Reminds you of a hurricane kind of or a tropical system because that low is there. It's the same thing, but just when it's over water, it's a much different story. You know what I mean? When it's over those warm waters, it's a much different story. You see in our area some showers approaching, and I wouldn't rule out some isolated showers throughout the night tonight. That is one thing that I think definitely will happen. Now let's take a look at the forecast models for this low. So you see the low up here in Indiana going into tomorrow. And then this thing will rapidly approach our area. So it'll move quite a bit into, again, our area. And from the time frame from in tomorrow, it'll work its way towards Cincinnati and it'll eventually work its way out of our air. And it's only going to take about 2 days, but these 2 days will bring some rain, bring some wind gusts. But after this, we should be fine. Taking a look at the Storm Prediction Center's outlook. Over the next few days, you can see tomorrow they have put us in that general thunderstorms risk because we are in that low. Only anywhere around the low is going to see that general thunderstorms risk because you cannot rule out a thunderstorm. And it's the same thing for the day 3 outlook as this is starting to work its way out of our area. Much more. Here's another graphic showing you the 7-day forecast that we have in the area tonight. You can see Sunday, we have a 60% chance of showers, and I agree with that because I think it's going to be isolated showers and widespread showers around our area. It could be quite heavy at sometimes, probably. Around the moderate to light range is what I'm talking about. Monday and Tuesday, we got that 40%. Monday, few showers, and then Tuesday, we got some scattered showers around the area. Wednesday, I got 20% rain on there with some more sun. You can see, look, we're going to go back up into the 90s this week. And that is one thing that could lead to more severe weather going into next week. As of right now, we don't have all the information about that, but we will. Strong to severe storms once again. This summer has just been crazy with the El Nino that has just been happening, warming up all the waters in the Pacific. I think that has an impact on why we're seeing such an active summer. This is literally feels like we're in April or the beginning of May right now. This feels very much like spring where we're seeing this much severe weather. And also, keep in mind, we are very far into the video. I have not even gotten off this topic yet. But okay. So I got 80s for all the way until Wednesday, and then Thursday we hit our first 90. That would be the high, and the low would be 72. 10% chance of rain on Thursday, and then Friday we get to that 20%. Saturday we get a 20% as well. You can see it just only increases as we go throughout the week. Monday, Tuesday sitting around the same temperatures. But all right, that's enough. That's the whole talk for Kentuckiana. So if you came here for the Kentuckiana forecast, it is now over. Now let's jump into the weather for Jamaica and South Africa. So starting right now, this is a kind of a satellite perspective of all of the weather that's going on right now. But let's take a look at Jamaica right here. So you can see we had the cell that moved through earlier. And earlier in the other forecast, I did have, I don't know why I drew an L, but we did have this shower, this storm linger and it did kind of intensify, I guess you could say, into a much bigger system than we thought it was. It's not really much of a big system, but it did actually rapidly kind of get bigger. Like, look how big it got at some points. And it reached very high into the atmosphere. So, western parishes, central to western parishes today saw some rainfall and some thunder, some storms go by. And this is working its way off of the western coast right now. You can see it's almost completely out of our air. But you can also see it looks like another shower is working its way into the region as well. We have another one that's way off out here. Taking a look at the radar for Jamaica right now. We'll do that. Here's the radar for Jamaica. So this is what we are seeing as far as the rainfall. You see some showers, some thunderstorms over there in Cuba. Some could be some strong storms up there. They get pretty big. But around our area, not seeing too much. You see a little bit of rain off to the north. But as of the newest radar scans that we've had, doesn't look like too much is happening right now. We're going to watch this closely, though, and be prepared if you live anywhere in central to eastern parishes and then going to western parishes for another shower to come off from the exact same area. Let's take a look at the GFS model for the Caribbean. I want to take a look at this because the main thing that I've kind of noticed is as we go throughout these days, we no longer have what could have been the storm Cristobal, which would be the next hurricane or tropical storm that impacted the United States. The GFS no longer shows that. You can see it does show that area of precipitation, which you can definitely point out of there, but it doesn't show this becoming a low pressure system. And you can see how those rain bands, they do look like they're rotating kind of in this direction if you watch them closely. But it doesn't look like we're going to see the next low pressure system develop out of this. This is definitely exactly where that low pressure area was forecasted to be. You can see it makes the exact same turn as this ridge of high pressure goes a little bit more south. That pushes it in this direction. And that's actually, even if this was a big storm, that would be the best case. The ridge of high pressure going a little bit more south, that brings that towards the eastern, northeastern. So, that is what we're looking like as far as this goes. As far as Jamaica's weather goes, you can see we're forecasting going into tonight to have some showers along the western parishes of Jamaica. And as we go throughout the night, you can see we're forecasting maybe a possible shower through the early morning hours. Around the afternoon, we could see some showers as well on western parishes. And as we go on to the 4th of August, this is the first scan on the 4th of August. You can see some showers are forecasted on extreme western Jamaica and out into the Caribbean. And then as we go further into August 4th, it looks like some widespread showers and potentially some weak thunderstorms are forecasted to impact the area. And you can see that will move pretty quickly to eastern parishes. So most of the island Jamaica hopefully going to get some rainfall there. And as we go throughout the 5th, you can see it looks like the first scan that we have for the 5th has showers on western parishes of Jamaica, potentially an isolated thunderstorm. And as we go throughout the 5th, this does not really impact much. You can see those storms up in Cuba. You'd be like, oh, we're going to get that. Nope. Doesn't really impact. Going to the 6th, once again, we have some showers in the area. That's going to be western to central. And this will continue throughout the day. August 7th, so very early morning hours, we're going to have potentially a shower or weak thunderstorm on the western side of Jamaica. And as we go throughout the day, we're not seeing much. And this is forecast hour 150, so I'm going to stop it here. But this is what the forecast is. This is what the weather could look like in the Jamaica area going into next week. Let us take a look at what the models are looking like for South Africa, as we do have this low moving through. That could be the next tropical system that's working its way. You can see also to the west of this one, I want to point out both the areas. We have two. Keep an eye on this area as well. As we go throughout the hours, you can see that clockwise rotation there as well. And you can see, this is going into August 2nd, by the way. This another system that moves through. So this one over here, both of these don't look like they're going to cause much problems. Then the maximum amount of time that these will cause problems is right now. At the time I'm recording this low is there. And you can see the precip is there. Right now is the max threat for how bad this thing is going to be. And you can tell it's not going to be very bad. And you can also, a cool thing if you guys didn't know, what this means here, why we're calling them cyclones, not hurricanes, not typhoons. If any of these tropical systems form in the southern hemisphere, they're called tropical cyclones, and they spin in the opposite direction. So if you guys didn't know that, quick little fact for you. All of the hurricanes, all the typhoons spin in counterclockwise rotation. These tropical cyclones, which is what they're called if they form in the southern hemisphere, spin in a clockwise rotation. But you can see we are forecasted even right now to just have this low that's moving through. Taking a look at the winds, you can see the wind rotating around that. It's not that strong winds, only looking like 15 to 16. So I wouldn't even classify this as really much of a tropic threat. Just kind of a low that's moving through, very similar to the one that's over Kentuckiana right now. Humidity is not looking too different. But as of right now, this thing will continue to move through. And then it looks like we could have a potential much bigger storm that moves through here on the 5th and the 6th. The models have been pretty consistent in showing these moving through. And it looks like we could have two. You see the top of both of them here. This is the one that we were watching the most. But we do have a second one that's just out of the area, the viewing zone, that could also pose that same threat. And we're forecasting a few of these to kind of happen. These tropical cyclones, these lows that move through to kind of happen. None of which are going to, as of right now, impact southern Africa. That's what we're seeing right now. This one could potentially, the rain bands, it's going to be the same kind of threat as what we're seeing right now. But as of right now, I don't think much of these are going to be any of a big threat. But we are going to keep an eye on this, and we'll keep you updated in the next forecast. Again, this is what the pressure is currently looking like. We're at 1011. So that's 1,011 millibars of pressure. You know, when we drop into the 900s, that's when things are actually becoming into the tropical area. And this is our other one that's kind of forming out here. You see it's a low pressure system there. And then you definitely see, you're like, oh, wait, there's so many low pressure areas everywhere. The only reason you're seeing this is because when we get to these cold regions of the United States like this is when things just can't really form down here. This is when the pressure is always low, but the water is too cold. Take a look at the temperatures of the water. You can see, look, there's never going to be a hurricane that forms over here by Antarctica in negative 24-degree water. They want those warm waters like what we have specifically in the Pacific right now and the Atlantic. However, the Atlantic right now is not active because that wind shear is really high. For hurricanes, it's the opposite. For hurricanes to form, they want the minimum amount of that wind shear because then they can't stack. That's what they need. They want those calm winds, and they just want to stack those storms up. And that is how they can become those hurricanes. And that is going to be it for the video. I hope you guys liked the video. If you did, make sure to like, make sure to comment, make sure to share, make sure to subscribe, and thank you guys for watching. See you guys tomorrow.